every bad idea that can't pass during a regular session is now being traipsed up and pushed by advocacy groups. In this case, it's Amnesty, couched with the idea that there's going to be some little bit done around on border issues to try to strengthen the border. And so Congress would do a little bit on border issues, but the main element of this is an amnesty for around 2 million by the sponsors' estimate, 2 million illegal aliens under the guise of them being DACA recipients, people who were brought here as children and have subsequently become adults. And so that's about 2 million people, 2 million who are here illegally. And the big idea is to give amnesty to those 2 million people. And quite honestly, Donald Trump was in favor of doing this, but he said, we're going to end chain migration, which is a process where somebody comes here, they get a green card, and then they can bring relatives here. And, under the legal immigration system, they can bring relatives here who also get green cards to work. And as a result, you end up with an extra immigration system that's beyond the norm. And it pushes out people who would otherwise want to come because they don't have a relative in place to invite them to come. So it is essentially a tool to dramatically expand the number of people here, but also make it so the people who come more based upon their familial relationships rather than the benefit that they might provide our country in terms of what their training is and meeting specific needs that our economy has. So that's a whole different debate. But President Trump was in favor of some deal that dealt with DACA and the border plus fixing the immigration system as a whole. That's not what this is. In fact, this is the opposite of that. What this is a concoction by Senator Tom Tillis and Kyrsten Sinema, who their last collaboration led us to the Destruction of Marriage Act, which passed the House, Senate, and is signed by the president, which repeals the Defense of Marriage Act, which institutionalizes gay marriage and puts anybody who from a religious perspective doesn't want to participate in gay marriage ceremonies or recognize gay marriage in terms of their personal accommodations and the like, puts them on the defensive and says, no, you are now in violation of federal law and you're violating people's civil rights. So that's the collaboration that they did last week. Well, this week, the U.S. Chamber and others are pushing through multi-million-dollar advertising campaigns, an amnesty scheme. And this amnesty scheme is something that was that was not a surprise. We know that was something they were looking for because way back in October, Politico reported, October 2022, employers eye lame duck immigration fix amid hot job market. So, and it just has a whole bunch of different articles about or statements by different people saying why they wanted to do this. So this is something that's been in the works since October, regardless of outcome, because the one thing the chamber and political people know is that you're far more likely to get really bad political votes to happen when senators and congressmen can't and won't be facing voters again. I'll give you an example here. This is Mike Simpson, who says this. He said it in an NPR quotes him, National Public Radio quotes him, and says, this is becoming the kind of the last hope, says Representative Mike Simpson, Republican from Idaho, who co-sponsored the Farm Workforce Bill. This is the best chance we've got of getting it done, he tells NPR. Speaking about the lame duck session. Now, so why would somebody say that? Mike Simpson's been in Congress for a very long time. He represents people in southern Idaho, an area, by the way, where I'm on the radio every week. And I've found no interest whatsoever in any of the conversations I have with any callers on the radio in southern Idaho and Amnesty. Well, just take a look at the politics of it. This is Mike Simpson. This is his campaign website under issues. He has Idaho. He has agriculture. You know what he doesn't include anywhere in his agriculture section? He doesn't include a mention of amnesty. He doesn't include a mention of immigration. He doesn't include a mention of anything like that. He talks about the dealing with transportation, trade agreements, taxes, energy, and environmental issues. Okay. Ironically, Simpson, who attacks the Green New Deal in his website, is one of the biggest proponents of various subsidies for the Green New Deal and has been playing his voters for fools for a while. But that's a different story. We'll now go to, he does have a specific section on immigration, securing our nation's borders. And this is just a, once again, it doesn't, giving amnesty, I'll just quote directly from, this is his campaign website. He had a primary opponent who was very strong, good conservative, who Mike Simpson defeated, unfortunately. But Simpson, this is Simpson's website, campaign website. This is what he told the people of Idaho. Giving amnesty to those who have broken our nation's immigration laws would undermine the policies that were established to regulate our borders and provide an orderly process of evaluating applications for citizenship. Such action would have sent a terrible message to all those who have complied with immigration laws and are still waiting approval. In addition, by rewarding those who violate U.S. law, we jeopardize the security and safety of our nation and greatly diminish our ability to protect our own borders. Now, we'll go back once again. What did he say to NPR in October, remembering that he did not have or actually this was in November after the election. Here's what he said in November. This is becoming the kind of the last hope. This is the best chance we've got of getting it done, referring specifically to something called the Farm Workforce Modernization Act, which includes amnesty for 2 million people. So this points the danger of lame duck session in very, very clear terms. Very clear terms. What we have is a lame duck session. A guy like Mike Simpson can sit there and say, well, I'm not going to face the voters until there's a primary election in 18 months, 20 months. And so I'm going to just, in the lame duck session, try to push along really bad policy that I wouldn't dare support if I was facing voters, because the media won't tell them. It's almost impossible to get information through to a vast number of voters without a lot of money. And I've gotten away with the same thing while in Washington, D.C., another thing while in Idaho. And they still elect because I've got millions of dollars of PAC money that I can spend to get to tell voters whatever I want to tell them, and without any capacity for somebody to raise the money to be able to set the record straight. So that's why the lame duck session, Mike Simpson provides us the exact example of why. By the way, I'm not a big fan of Mike Simpson's, in case you couldn't tell. So let's talk about specifically what the DACA deportation, the big lie. The big lie on DACA amnesty here is that you are going to have, by providing this amnesty, you're going to meet the current labor shortage needs. There's this labor shortage, and we need more laborers. And so if you just give amnesty to 2,000 or 2 million people, we're going to be able to do that. Unfortunately, that is completely counter to the claims of ForwardUS.us, a pro-immigration group co-founded by Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, which found that 91% of recipients, of DACA recipients, are employed. 91%, according to this. It says, so it talks, and they're employed through various work permits and the like, green cards. And so it talks about all this economic damage not having the deportation of these people would have on our economy. So let's just be honest. Just for grins and giggles, let's try to be honest. The same people who are spending millions of dollars for amnesty for 2 million people are saying, well, this is because we have the job shortage. This is because there's 10 million jobs unfilled. We need to have more people. We need to have more people in America to be able to fill these jobs that are unfilled. One even went so far as to say, Americans won't go out and milk cows at 4 a.m. Well, I don't know about that, but I know a lot of Americans who do go out and milk cows. And what's more, big dairies have machines that do that. So you're not, milking a cow per se, you're turning a machine on. But nonetheless, you're hooking the cows up to the machine. And I'm sure that's never done it, but I'm sure it's a process. But nonetheless, the idea that we are dependent, we're going to pay more for food prices, we're going to pay more for everything if we don't have people come in and give DACA recipients amnesty is a lie. It's just a lie. Either Zuckerberg is lying, which is possible, about the percentage that are employed. And the reason that that's important is they want to show, the left wants to show that these are productive citizens and have earned the right to have a citizenship. So they have to show they're employed. But on the other hand, the business people are saying, well, the amnesty people, we want to give these people amnesty because we need more workers. You can't do both. So the reality is all the amnesty is for DACA is a camel's nose under the tent. And if you haven't ever heard this story, it's very simple. It's an old story. It's like a fable that's told by and kind of like Arabian Nights, that kind of. And it's about it's an old Arab fable. And the fable is this: that one day it was a guy was out with a tent that fit one person. But it was really cold at night. He's in the tent, his camel's outside. The camel sticks his nose in the tent and says, "Hey, it's really cold in here. Do you mind if I just stick my nose in here and warm up a little bit?" And he goes, "Okay, that's fine. You can stick your nose in." A little bit later, the camel wakes him up again and says, "Hey, it's really cold in here. Mind if I stick my head in and really help me out?" And he says, "Go ahead and stick your head in." And finally, the camel wakes him up and says, "Hey, it's really cold out here. My back half's really getting cold. And you mind if I come into the tent?" And before the guy thinks too much, the camel comes into the tent. And then so once in the tent, it's discovered that both the guy who allowed it, whose tent it was, and the camel don't fit in the tent. And the camel looks at the guy and says, "There's enough room in here for the two of you. You need to get out." And so that's kind of the origin of the camel's nose under the tent, that we're all kind of familiar with as a saying. Well, that's what this is. This amnesty is nothing more, nothing less than a nose under the camel's nose into the tent, because they argue that the people who are DACA recipients are in fact working. Hence, they don't fill a labor shortage. So who would fill the labor shortage? The chain migration, the bringing in relatives into the country is what would be filling the labor shortage. That's what fills the labor shortage. So this isn't about 2 million. It's about 20 million. It's not about 2 million. It's about 20 million people coming in, using our system and using our system against us. That's what's been happening with the chain migration problem. It's a problem that Donald Trump tried to fix. I sat in the White House with them, dealing with some of these discussions, trying to figure out the right way to go with it, how to make the immigration system rational and make sense. And it's a hard issue. But the fact of the matter is, if you go and you do all they're doing with the amnesty that's being proposed by Tillis, Republican from North Carolina, Kirsten Sinema, former Democrat from Arizona, all they're doing on those things is putting some window dressing around border security. Because, folks, border security, if the Biden administration actually wanted to secure the border, they could. They don't want to. So you could do whatever you want. Your Congress pass whatever laws they want. Biden administration has a policy of having our borders be open. They wouldn't admit that they're open. So they don't even admit there's a problem. They just ignore it and say, "Gee whiz, it doesn't matter." And quite honestly, by ignoring it and saying it doesn't matter, they won an election. So they survived an election. Let's put it that way. And so politically, what's the downside for them to continue to lie? Well, this is a cover operation. Everything they say about border security on this is nothing more than covering, because even if they put the money in, Biden administration isn't going to do it. But they will process those amnesty applications as fast as they can. So, folks, this is a fraud. It's a lame duck fraud. It's everything we know is wrong about lame duck. And it's up to you to let your senator, let your congressperson know that you oppose it. Straight, simple, you oppose amnesty and the lame duck session. Okay, force them. They're going to do this. Force them to vote for it in a time when it's not Christmas. And this is the key. If they can vote on it during the Christmas season, when people don't want to be dealing with Washington, they're tired of it. This is why they do it. This is the closest thing to get to cloak of darkness as they ever have. It's why you see really bad stuff come up in lame duck sessions. And it's why, quite honestly, I wrote a piece that was pretty cynical. I'm sorry, but pretty cynical last week about some of the things that were happening around the world while Americans preparing for Christmas. But the fact is, evil doesn't sleep, and consequently, I don't get to sleep either. But with that, I just want to let you know there is a push right now on amnesty. It is a push that's being run by the Chamber of Commerce, amongst others. There's an article on Breitbart on it that if you want to take a look at it, you can. Additionally, we have an article up on Daily Torch that talks a little bit about it as part of the article. And this is the article. It's really talking a little more about the kind of the play on Kyrsten Sinema leaving the Democrat Party as an independent, and how that politically was working, and the overall plan that Senator McConnell was working to try to put himself into being Senate Majority Leader. And it's kind of a long-term plan they had. It is what it is. It didn't, Sinema did become an independent, and you can read all about that in dailytorch.com today. Also a great article by Robert Romano. And with that, I'm going to let you go. That's what we have for today. Appreciate your attention. And if anything as hot happens, we'll get back on these airwaves. With that, thank you very much and have a great day.